Welcome to Season 3 of E-Commerce Fastlane, Episode 103.
Welcome to E-Commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, launch, grow, and scale a wildly successful e-commerce company. Listen to real conversations with proven practical strategies and success stories. Learn how to generate more traffic, more sales, more profit, and customer lifetime value for your Shopify store. And now, your host and e-commerce entrepreneur, Steve Hutt.
This episode is brought to you by the team at Rewind. You know something? Accidents can happen, and they can have a major financial impact on your business. What happens if you install an app and it messes up your theme? Or you upload a product catalog with errors? Or even worse, a store collaborator deletes product images by mistake? The common myth is that Shopify has a backup that you can use when something goes wrong with your store. Untrue. Myth busted. Shopify has no native backups. So what do? You use Rewind to protect your store with automated backups. Rewind should be the first app you install to protect your store against human error, misbehaving apps, or collaborators gone bad. It's like having your very own magic undo button. The Rewind app is trusted by over 30,000 businesses, from side hustlers to the biggest online retailers like Gatorade or Movement Watches. And best of all, respond to any of their welcome emails and mention the E-Commerce Fastlane podcast, and you'll get your first month of backups absolutely free. Protect your business, get peace of mind with Rewind backups. Download the app today from the Shopify App Store or by visiting rewind.io. Well, hey there, it's Steve, and welcome back to the E-Commerce Fastlane podcast. Now, if this is your first time listening, this is an e-commerce show where we have honest and transparent conversations about building and thriving with your store powered by Shopify or Shopify Plus. Now, new episodes are available each week with your favorite podcast player through iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. Or you can also sign up online at ecommercefastlane.com and be notified when a new show is being released. My guest today, is Matt and Ben from Octane AI. Now, that's a wildly popular Facebook Messenger and now SMS app that's used by thousands of Shopify brands. Today is a little bit different. I'm very excited. I'm honored to be one of the first podcasts that are actually releasing a enhancement to their product, almost a foundational piece of their product now. And today, I'd like to welcome together Matt and Ben to the show.
Thank you for having us. We're excited, and congratulations on your 100 episodes.
My pleasure. You know, it's a life of learning, to be quite honest with you, and just the opportunity that I get with these partners like yourself, being able to, you're solving lots of great problems, these partners, and the learnings that have happened over the last 2 years with the show. The show gets over 10,000 downloads a month now, so there's lots of people that are seeing a lot of great value, and Harley was very kind to jump on the 100th episode. You know, Octane AI, I recommend it to a lot of the brands that I manage. I share it widely on social media. You've released a lot of incredible ebooks on how to use Facebook Messenger effectively. I think I was even quoted in one of the books about the Click to Messenger ad product, which I highly recommend. If you've not heard of what Click to Messenger is, I'll make sure in the show notes there'll be a link to that, because I think that is a hidden opportunity that so many brands are not executing on, about how you can integrate Messenger and pay a small amount of money versus what Facebook ads are actually costing, but driving people to a Messenger bot, and then you have this opt-in for future communication. It's significantly less in price, but it starts building more authentic relationships and more of them. So it's really interesting. I'll have that link in the show notes. But I understand today you would like to discuss public release of something really foundational in the Octane AI product. So I'll pass it over to you, and you guys can share with our listeners today exactly what it is that you have built over the last 6 months.
Awesome. And thank you. We've been working on Octane AI since 2016. So it's been over 4 years at this point. And we started as a company that was building automation for Facebook Messenger. And originally, we weren't focused on e-commerce. We were just helping any business that wanted to have automation when talking to customers in a marketing capacity. But very quickly, we realized that e-commerce, and specifically Shopify businesses, was the place that if we focused our attention there, we could help a ton of merchants connect with their customers better and convert better by sending abandoned cart messages, browse abandonment, and all sorts of other automations over the Facebook Messenger channel. since then, we added SMS and the company grew quite rapidly. Like you said, we work with thousands of Shopify businesses. But this new feature that we have that we've been working on for the past 6 months is something that we didn't really plan on creating it when we started the company. It wasn't what we were originally envisioning, but it was something that we received a tremendous amount of demand for from our customers. And when we looked in the market, nothing like this existed. And for companies that were doing something similar, it seemed like it a lot of times was a key part of their entire strategy. And so what we're coming out with is a shoppable product quiz for Shopify brands that they can put on their store. And so this is something that oftentimes will be promoted on the homepage of a Shopify store. It will say something like, find your routine, or find the right product for you, or take a consultation. And when you enter into this experience, there's a full page conversation that takes place, which is a quiz, where the website itself, the store itself, asks the customer a series of key questions and then uses that information to match that customer up with the right product recommendations. And the number of ways that you can do this is pretty much infinite, and it ranges depending on what type of brand you are and what type of product you have and what type of customers you have. We kind of see it as retail locations offer this natively. You know, if you go walk into a store, somebody is there to help you, right? If I walk in and I'm going to go to a skincare store and I know that I want to purchase something, I know I should take care of my skin, I have money in my hand, I want to go into that store, I can walk in there, but I'm actually not sure what to buy because I've never bought skincare products before, but I'm ready to purchase. And so what happens is, if I don't know what to buy, I might leave that store because I know if I buy the wrong skincare, I might, maybe like my skin will break out, or, it's not going to be unhealthy for me. And so somebody in the store can come up to me and they can ask me a couple questions. What kind of skin do I have? What am I looking for? What are my concerns? They can take me to the right aisle. They can put together a bundle for me and I can purchase it and I leave happy. Online, for basically every e-commerce website in the world, that experience doesn't exist. It's almost like I show up to your website and I'm in an empty warehouse and I have my money. I want to take care of my skin or whatever it is I'm shopping for, but I don't know what to buy. And so oftentimes I'm probably going to leave because I'm too scared that I'm going to buy the wrong thing. And so this new shoppable quiz that we've created allows merchants to customize with no code this type of onboarding experience and feature it on their site.
That was one of the things I was going to mention about the code side of it, because the conversations that I have with the brands that I manage, when they want to have this kind of guided selling, this quiz experience to help people move down towards the right product, or maybe you said even consultations, trying to go down this journey, typically it's a lot of custom programming. But now you're suggesting that with adding the Octane AI product and turning on the shoppable quizzes, now all of a sudden full page, beautiful, not iframe, like all native as part of the flow of the customer's journey of wanting to do a quiz to find the right product. It all just works natively right within Shopify.
I totally agree. We heard from a lot of the customers. We talked to a lot of e-commerce and Shopify Plus brands before building this. And the majority of the time, they would have to custom code. It's really hard to update something that is custom coded. There's, the ability to just constantly improve, the ability to have the in-depth analytics. These are all things that all the commerce brands we talked with wanted. And it was really hard to custom build everything. And we are just spending our time and all of our energy building the best product for this, the best shoppable quiz possible. I think that's a big thing that we've seen just a lot of our customers really be excited by.
So let's talk about the inspiration behind it, because it's always fascinating to me. I mean, you mentioned a little bit that, hey, you weren't necessarily going down this journey, but it was conversations with brands. And it seemed to kind of make sense that this was a conversation that could have happened right within Messenger itself. And people were wanting that, more progressive, larger brands. But I guess you kind of distilled it all down and said, no, wait a second, can we productize this? And is there benefit in having this available more widely to lots of customers? So let's dig into maybe the inspiration behind why you built it, any case studies or any kind of beta customers, and maybe we can dig into some of those stats.
Octane AI, when we started it, you could basically connect your Shopify store. We would track what your customers were doing, and then we would connect to your Facebook page. And when customers abandoned their cart or completed a purchase or went to your site and didn't add anything to your cart, you could trigger automated messages or text messages from Octane AI to your customers to increase revenue. Very similar to what probably a lot of listeners are doing with email. But part of this, and like the whole reason that we focused on Facebook Messenger and SMS is because different than email, this is a short form conversational platform where you oftentimes are messaging or texting with your friends. And we wanted to bring the ability for businesses to communicate with their customers in the same exact way. So everything that we've focused on has been on conversation. We've become experts at conversation and automation. And when we built out our tool set, because we have the great privilege of focusing and working with Shopify brands, we know that most Shopify brands are going to want the similar things. They're going to want abandoned cart messages, browse abandonment, kind of welcome series, all these typical things. But we also know that brands are going to want to create their own things, right? They're not just going to want to do what we have out of the box. These merchants are really creative. They need tools that can help them be creative. And so not only did we build products that supported kind of the more standard things, but we also had products on Octane AI that let brands create completely custom conversations. So anything they wanted to do, they could create it. And what was interesting is that last year, we kind of as a company started focusing heavily on Shopify Plus brands and larger Shopify brands, brands that are making over $500,000 or more a year. And what happened is, one, we grew really, really quickly, and we were able to we did a fundraise which closed this year on the same day that the NBA shut down, which was a crazy day for us. But, the other part of this, besides growing fast, is it meant that all the feedback that we were getting was from these, it wasn't from every type of Shopify brand. It was only from these really large, fast-growing ones. And that gave us a really unique insight. And so what ended up happening is tons of these large brands started using our custom tools alongside the out-of-the-box flow tools. They started using the custom tools, and they started using them to create custom conversations. And the interesting thing is they all started making the exact same conversations. And we saw that as a trend. And the thing that they were doing is they were creating conversational product quizzes inside of Facebook Messenger. And so, if it's a skincare brand, what kind of skin do you have? What's your age? What's your skin concern? And then recommending a series of products. And everybody was doing this exact same thing. And when we went to their websites, we didn't see like a full page quiz experience. They would just be offering this in chat. And we thought this was really weird because you have a lot of companies out there who they're growing really fast. Maybe they've raised a bunch of money and they focus on data science. And oftentimes they lead with a quiz to match you up with the right product. And that's a differentiator for them. And so we thought it was really weird that these brands were just using Octane and Facebook Messenger to do the quiz. And they weren't doing what seemed like the ideal experience. And so we set up phone calls with all of them. And we literally were like, hey, we love that you're using Octane for this, but we just are a little confused. Why are you not doing it on your site? And everybody gave us the same answer. They said, we actually really want it to live on the site. We want it to be a full page experience. We want it to feel branded like our actual website is. But the problem is that right now we only have two options to do that. One option is we go with something like a form builder, like a type form or something. But the problem is that you can spot a type form from a mile away. It looks like a type form. It looks like it's just like a kind of a dressed up Google form. It's a great product, but for especially a makeup brand or a hair care brand or someone that really cares about their image, it's not a good solution.
It looks really bolt on. I mean, to be quite frank with you, I think it's better than nothing. Fair enough. But it seems like you, and from what I've seen on demos and things, that you've actually leveled that up significantly now. So it's not just hidden in a little type form and or over in a messenger bot. Now this is actually full page on brand as part of the customer experience. The quality is just, it's spot on to the exact theme that you're using.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that was so crucial because the other option that they would say, so one option is the type form, and then the other option is you go with an agency. Most agencies, they're not just dedicated to building quizzes, but they can build you any kind of custom front end that you want to, and it can look incredible. It can look super, super, super sexy. The problem, though, is that not only does it cost a ton for any kind of custom development that you want, but when they're building this for you, they're not building you a Shopify app. They're just building you a front end. There's no dashboard. There's no analytics. You can't go change it if you want to. If you ever want to customize the pricing or the image or the flow or the look and feel, you're going to have to go reach out to that agency again. And you as a Shopify merchant, you're basically going to have to become a product manager for this quiz, and you're not an expert at that. And so we saw this opportunity as, wow, okay, everybody is asking for this thing. They're using Octane because they can do it without coding. It's something their marketing team can jump in and they can create this conversation, and it works for now, but it's not actually what they want to do. It's just the best thing that they were able to figure out how to do. And we thought that we've been focusing on conversation for so long, and we thought that the whole key element to that was that we were able to talk to customers on behalf of brands in Facebook Messenger and SMS. But what we realized is the key differentiator that we've been helping brands achieve isn't the platforms, it's the conversation itself. And the majority of engagement that happens with the store happens on their homepage and their product pages, not just inside of Facebook Messenger. And so last year, over 6 months ago, we made the decision to secretly start building the best ever out-of-the-box shoppable quiz builder for Shopify in the entire world, where it can track your revenue. It looks as good as if an agency had created it. It requires no code. Absolutely every piece of data that's collected through it is saved on Octane, and you can use it for remarketing purposes. If you want to go retarget people on Instagram based on how they answered one of the questions, even if they didn't finish the quiz, you can do that. If you want to sync data to Klaviyo and start changing your welcome series based on how people took the quiz, you can do that too.
That's amazing. So don't take this question the wrong way, and I think the answer is pretty clear, but like, how do you believe that this new addition to the Octane product, the shoppable quizzes, why do you believe it's going to be a game changer now for e-commerce? Because the one side of it was, hey, you either have the type form messenger bot kind of basic look and feel, or you spend a ton of money over here in an agency world, and then having to be a product manager to manage it all, and the expense that goes along with it, versus what you have built over the last 6 months. I just would love to hear in your own words now how you believe that this is going to be a game changer for Shopify brands.
Yeah, so one crazy thing is when we were deciding to create this shoppable quiz with Octane AI, we knew that other brands had quizzes, that they had launched quizzes. And so in the beginning, we were like, okay, stores have launched really nice quizzes. Is there really a need for a product like this? And as part of our due diligence on deciding to start building this monumental product for us, we talked to a bunch of these brands. But what was interesting is when we talked to them, we were like, hey, like, how does your quiz work? How are you powering this? It was always custom development. And when we asked them, well, how's it doing? Like, how many people have signed up, and how much revenue are you generating from this, or what are the typical results that people are getting matched with? And nobody had an answer for it. Nobody knew. So in general, they know they're getting a lot of engagement with it, but amount of value that is hidden inside of a quiz when you're doing it right is like mind-boggling. And none of these brands knew what it was. And so the thing that I think about is right now, when a customer goes to your site, you pixel them, right? And that allows you to track them so that if they don't give you their contact information when they leave, you can show them retargeting ads on Facebook and Instagram or wherever you're running ads. And those ads are based on what product you looked at or what you added to your cart. Why not target people based on who they are and what they know and what they want and what their desires are? That's way more personalized than just tracking what page they look at, which could give you a false positive. And so asking these key questions in the quiz the same way you would do it in the store, and then being able to have this monstrous amount of data that you can then use for remarketing on any of your marketing channels is crazy. I think we already have brands where they're basically using the quiz to identify and match people up with buyer personas. And so they might have 5 buyer personas that they're aware of. And what's interesting is when people take the quiz, they're using Octane AI to sort their customers into one of those 5 buyer personas. And because we're able to track revenue automatically, we're now able to tell them, actually, you know what? This buyer persona that you didn't think was important is actually your highest AOV. This is actually your most profitable buyer persona. And now what you need to do is you need to change your marketing. You need to go after this persona specifically and their specific concern. And you need to go create a lookalike audience out of the people we found that match up with that. And that's something that they have never been able to do. And we think that everybody knows they should be doing buyer persona marketing. Nobody's actually doing it. And so this unlocks that.
That's amazing. So let's dig under the hood a bit, because I think it's interesting to understand some of the specifics of what this solution can do. So I understand that it's Octane AI. It's the main core product. We're adding on the shoppable quiz option. we turn it on, maybe explain what exactly people are going to see now and what can they do.
It's interesting because we've been known for the messenger and SMS component, and those things, you do the things that we suggest, you print money with them. The quiz, it's not like a chatbot or anything like that. You put it on the site, it looks and feels like the website, and it is super customizable in the sense that if you wanted to ask questions in terms of like a drop down, in terms of a picture, like a set of pictures, like you wanted people to choose different skin tones, or we have like customers where they're showing like different kinds of photography options or different like wine options. The visuals are really strong. And you kind of like just go through this really fluid process whereby at the end, the store is recommending either an individual product or a bundle of products. As an example, they're coming up with like a skincare routine. So there's a bundle of products you put together. Interestingly enough, we've seen that when you have like those kinds of bundles, you can see a significant increase in your overall AOV for the customers who go through the quiz versus those who don't. We're seeing like 50% and above in some cases. But it's also customizable in the sense that for some, instead of showing just product results, they're showing recipes. Or we've even had some of our customers even use our Shoppable quiz product to do things we hadn't even really thought too much about, like creating on-site opt-ins with the quiz. There's even a bunch of things we believe that people can build that we haven't even thought of. It's very versatile in that sense. But the kind of overall flow is, something super beautiful, the ability to ask in a full screen these questions in a beautiful way, a lot of times with an imagery or like beautiful words and lettering that match the site. And then, recommending either it's the individual product or the bundles that really match, depending on the type of brand you are, whether you're skincare, where you have like sets of bundles you may want to recommend, or if you're like a food product where you may have like an individual flavor or taste profile that you're trying to recommend against.
An example is Skinny Mixes, which is an amazing Shopify Plus brand that we work with. They're just growing like wildfire. They sell 0 calorie, 0 sugar, 0 carb syrups to flavor drinks with. And they use Octane for a quiz. And so for them, this is something they promote on their homepage, and it's geared around finding a recipe. So it says over 50 flavors, find your perfect recipe, take the quiz now. And when you go through the quiz, it's going to ask you, what are you in the mood for? Like coffee, water, soda, cocktails, food, tea. If you select one of those, let's say we select coffee, it can say something like, okay, well, like, what's your favorite flavor? Maybe you say vanilla. It says, how do you like your coffee? I like my coffee cold. It says, 1 second while we find you the perfect recipe. You're going to love these. Then it brings us to a page where it shows us a list of personalized recipes. So I just took the quiz right now while I was talking, and I got vanilla iced coffee, and I can click those. I can read the recipe, and the products for them are promoted in the recipe, and they're already generating substantial revenue through this. They're making anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 a day just from the quiz. And we have other brands where they have 75% higher AOV for customers who took the quiz versus customers who didn't take the quiz because they're recommended the right products for them. We also, because you can collect email address and phone number and messenger opt-in in the quiz, for these brands, we've seen that the quiz becomes their number one source of new email addresses or leads. And I think that that's like really wild because not only do they get more emails, but they're getting all of the buyer persona data alongside that.
So Matt, let's dig into that because that's one thing that caught my attention. You mentioned about buyer personas and then there's buyer profiles. Can you talk about the difference between the two of them? Because for me, it seems a buyer persona is kind of this fictitious person or persons and trying to think about who this person is, but is a buyer profile a different type of persona?
Yeah, so good question. So buyer persona, brands approach it in a different way, but it would be individual characteristics of a person that you see as a customer. And that could be based on age or concerns or demographic or any variety of things that might make sense for your brand. And then the buyer profile is overall all of the buyer personas together. So it's the one group, this is the large group of customers you're going after at a high level. And that's put together by lots of little pieces of data. And I think that what's interesting is when most people have approached the buyer persona and buyer profile discussion, they create these fictitious personas and they say, okay, we have Sally and Mike, and here's these people that we're going after. And they're kind of a lot of times making estimates and guessing or educated guesses on what they think those are composed of. Whereas when you say, let's say you have 1,000 people, 10,000 people, whatever, going to your website every day, and you're welcoming them with this like onboarding experience, which is a quiz, and you're asking them these key questions, which are going to be different for every brand. And any brand listening to this, you already know what questions you wish you could ask every customer that came through the door. When you ask these questions, you're able to now bucket people. They're almost like choosing their own buckets, and they might not match up with the personas that you thought you were kind of targeting. You might discover some completely new group of people based on their combination of answers who spend a lot more with you that you never knew about, and now you can start focusing on them.
So when you have the full picture then of this buyer profile data, so we know exactly who the customer is, not fictitious as a real person, what sort of things can we action on that data now through your quiz product?
So there's a lot of things. I think that there's like an infinite number of things, because I think that at a high level, the more personalized you can get with your marketing, the better your marketing is going to perform. Because the more personalized experience you can provide for a customer, the better they're going to feel and the better experience they're going to get. And so it starts off by, one, greeting them and just generally welcoming them to your store and giving them a nice experience there. And then first and foremost, using that data you collect to recommend the perfect set of products to them, whether that's one product, like here's the perfect mattress for you, and you might also like these pillows. Or maybe it's a wide selection of products for like wine or jewelry, like here's a bunch of wine we think you might like, pick some of them. Or maybe it's a bundle. Here's 3 or 5 sets of products. We think that you should get these together. That right there is immediate value. But then the fact that now we know what your preferences are, what your age is, what your desires are, maybe what your location is, we can use this information on every single marketing channel, right? So we can use it on email, SMS, and Facebook ads, and Facebook Messenger. And what this means is if I have a new product that I'm going to come out with that is only relevant to people with a certain concern or a certain preference. Previously, if somebody hasn't purchased a product from me, I wouldn't know what that data is on them. I wouldn't have bucketed my customers based on that data because I don't know it. But with the quiz, even if somebody hasn't completed a purchase, I might know that you really like the cherry flavors on Skinny Mixes, or I might know that you specifically are worried about wrinkles. And when I come out with a new product, I can start showing that product to that group of people on Instagram ads. I can create email automation on Klaviyo, and I can follow up with them there. So that's one big value, is releasing new products to the right people who previously you might not have known that they were a perfect match for this. And then the second one is, I think most people think of the value of a quiz is people completing a quiz, right? Like my quiz is only valuable if people get to the finish line and they actually submit everything. Whereas if you think about it, and it ranges from brand to brand, but there's a meaningful percentage of people who are not going to finish the quiz. And there's a lot we can do with that data, right? For all those people who haven't completed the quiz, if we are using pixels to fire off custom Facebook events when they answer certain questions, even if somebody comes in and they answer half of the questions and then they leave, we're still going to be able to remarket to them based on who they are and not who we think they are.
I'll just add that, I think this is just the beginning for us in terms of like the buyer profile technologies that we're building. The quiz is an incredible way to like build and learn more about customers. But I think our messenger and SMS personalization that are coming with this is just like the beginning in terms of both like getting the data and the information and the personalization points you need to really personalize, and then helping personalize the entire shopping experience, right? We want to go beyond just, just like same experience for everyone when, if one group is an 18 and has oily skin, they should have a different experience in terms of like their emails, their messenger, their SMS than they should have if they're like in their 30s and have dry skin. And different shopping experiences, different groups should have those different experiences. And there's a lot of cool things I think we can do and will do to power that.
One topic that comes up quite a bit with the brands I manage is lifecycle marketing. So it sounds to me that the Octane Quizable product now will allow almost a single source of truth for the customer, and then being able to action that customer very specifically, almost on a one-to-one basis. Are you able to expand a little bit on that, about how the product actually works in that case?
Yeah. So, for example, when you're creating a shoppable quiz, that's broken up into sections, which are questions and other screens that you might show in the middle of the quiz, and then also results pages. And so when you ask questions, you can ask any number of questions. You can use text or images, and you can associate custom properties next to each answer. And so that's how data is saved into Octane, and then that's how that data is also synced to our integration partners, such as like Klaviyo or Facebook. Once you've collected this data, you can use Octane to set up, maybe you want to create a custom campaign specifically to a group of people on Facebook Messenger who told you that they have a certain preference. Maybe you want to set up an automated trigger so that when you identify that somebody has this specific property about themselves, you want to automatically send them a specific notification or start showing them a specific type of ad. It's not only allowing you to collect the data and get that on a per individual basis, but then it's also allowing you to set up the triggers and the flows to follow up with them, whether it's through the Octane AI platform for something like Facebook Messenger ads or SMS, or through someone else like Klaviyo where you want to manage your email automation.
Because I think that's the key. I think there's people that have existing tech stack right now. And that's the one thing that I love about the Octane product is that you're heavily rooted in the partner ecosystem. You play very nicely from what I see from my vantage point. You play quite nicely with the other partners in non-competing verticals, all just with the intention of being able to help brands grow and scale and just build lifetime value.
Yeah, absolutely. I've worked in a couple different industries, and the Shopify ecosystem is the most healthy ecosystem I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's just so amazing how many different groups of people are building products to support these millions of merchants. That's kind of how we operate, is that we know that merchants are going to use multiple different apps to power different aspects of their store. And it's important for us that we can provide you some core functionality, such as identifying the buyer persona and building the buyer profile and collecting this important data and following up with people on these different channels. But we also believe it's really important that we integrate with the other apps that you use so that the data is not siloed on Octane AI, and it's something that you can cohesively use across your suite.
Also add the ecosystem piece too, the agencies of the Shopify ecosystem too. We have given access of the Shoppable quiz to especially some Shopify Plus partners, and they've been super excited and super innovative with the Shoppable quiz. A lot of them, their core business is not like a custom build of like an individual quiz. It's all the other elements, everything from like the marketing stack to like the actual site build itself, implementing themes. This is we found a really, really helpful piece for a lot of the agencies that are working with the top brands in the Shopify ecosystem too.
That's awesome. I'm glad to see that partnership is there with both the end user, but then also in the partner ecosystem and the agency world. I think that's very, very interesting that you're able to partner together. So we are nearing the end of the show for today, but do you have any closing comments or any takeaways that you would like to leave with our listeners today?
Yeah, I think that if you're listening to this and you're a merchant, and in your head you can think of questions that you wish you could ask every customer that came through the door, and you believe that if you could automatically ask these questions and use simple or really, really advanced logic to kind of match these customers up with the right products, if you think that that would be a really good experience for your customers and something they'd enjoy, and you think that that would be helpful for your business, I think that a shoppable quiz is something that you should definitely be taking a look at. And I bet that you've probably thought about doing one for years, because that's what we learned from the brands we talked to, but you just were never sure on how to do it, or it felt too complicated. Octane AI makes creating the shoppable quiz super, super, super easy, and we will help you with it. So thinking through this conversation can be tough sometimes. What is that perfect conversation you're going to ask your customers? We are experts at working with brands to help them identify and put together and reverse engineer the perfect onboarding experience for your customers. And so sign up, go get early access, and we're going to be here to help you.
How can people learn more about getting that early access? Can you share some details? I will have a landing page set up at ecommercefastlane.com/Octane AI, and that's going to redirect to a landing page. What will people find when they get to that landing page, and what sort of things did you want to share with the listeners today?
So we are putting the Shoppable quiz into public beta, which means you can request an invite. we're working pretty closely with brands. We don't want to just, we want to make sure it's a great experience for everybody, but if you request an invite, we're going to get you access to the Shoppable quiz and work with you on that. We're coming out with a lot of documentation. We're coming out with guides. We're coming out with a whole set of things around not just like how to use our product, but how to think about quizzes to increase conversions. And we have seen and talked with like some of our partners where like even before the Shoppable quiz, like quizzes drive a major increase in conversions. And even just like a few percentage points increase in your overall conversion rate will have a dramatic impact on your business.
Beautiful. I was just thinking on a side note here, I was thinking about the quiz product in general, about the SEO value that can come out of building a native quiz. And I think about dwell time and the fact that you're getting people to be sticky and to stay on the website. And that is a really positive signal that you're giving back to Google that something of merit is actually going on this website.
That's a really good point. And I think you're right. It'll show that people are more engaged. And which makes sense. It's like if I walked into an empty warehouse and nobody was there, how engaged am I going to be versus if somebody was there who was a super expert and was engaging with me and asking me questions. I guess maybe that's the way to say it, is your website is going to be the most engaging is if you add something to it that engages with customers. And that's what the goal of the Shoppable quiz is to engage with them and then give them the confidence to purchase. We have one brand where 40% of their revenue is coming through the Shoppable quiz, and it's just been a major upgrade for them. I'll also leave everybody with two notes, which is one, previously quizzes have been very, very difficult to make. Because you can use Octane to do it with no code, we're seeing that brands now want to have multiple quizzes, which you can put at different points of the customer journey. So you have a quiz in the beginning to onboard them. You could have a quiz post-purchase to figure out how to make the site better. You could have a quiz that shows up only to certain customers to ask them, certain things. You could have a quiz that just has one question and it's not even a quiz. And like Ben was mentioning earlier, we also have stores that are starting to use the quiz product to create almost like dynamic landing pages where you can click buttons and answer things, and it's using our logic to transform the experience into something that's shoppable, but it's not even specifically a quiz. So we're really excited to put this in the hands of everybody because it is a truly creative no-code tool that is shoppable and integrated with Shopify and all the other apps at its core. And I'm pretty sure there's an infinite amount of experiences that you can make with this.
Well, as you know, Shopify's mission really is to make commerce better for everyone. And it's very clear both of you are in tight alignment with wanting to help Shopify brands to improve efficiencies, and in this case, grow revenue, build lifetime customer loyalty. And I want to thank you both, Ben, Matt, for number one, taking time today to sharing this opportunity, this new public beta. I'm wowed every day with your vision. You're giving back to the Shopify ecosystem. I'm really excited for where the Shoppable quiz is headed, and I'm excited for it to blow up for these brands in our Shopify ecosystem.
We mirror all of that. I think that we feel so appreciative and honored and lucky to be able to work with all these entrepreneurs. Every day we get to get on Zoom calls or phone calls with small teams or large teams that are changing their lives, and Shopify is at the core of that. And it's honestly just been the best experience of our lives to be here. And I can't stress that enough, that how nice and supportive everybody is. And we're just trying to do our best to kind of pass that forward and pass on any vision or ideas or development that we can to help the greater ecosystem.
All right, guys, well, have yourself an awesome day, and thanks for coming on the show. This episode is brought to you by the team at Rewind. If you're a Shopify partner, join leading agencies like The Tap Room, Milk Bottle Labs, BVA, and more in the Rewind Agency Partner Program. You can earn up to $1,000 for recommending Rewind to your clients. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, if you're a merchant, feel confident and enjoy peace of mind that your store is always safe with automatic backups by Rewind. Learn more by looking up Rewind in the Shopify App Store or by visiting rewind.io. And make sure you mention E-commerce Fastlane podcast, and you'll get your first month absolutely free. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you, a loyal listener of E-commerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, launch, grow, and scale with Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.